Hey, 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 hey. Hey, 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 how you doing? Welcome to the Tarot Flow Show. My name is Allison Pickering, and the Tarot Flow Show is where synchronicity is the star, and I am so happy to be here today. I am here as usual with my co-host in Stockholm, Sweden, Mr. Kefri Skarabus. Let's welcome him. Hello, Kefri. How you
Hi,
doing?
Alison. I'm fine.
That's good. It's nice to see you. So it's about noon here
Same.
in
Yeah.
California. It's about 9 p.m. in Stockholm. And then we have
Yeah.
our lovely guest today. And she
Nice.
is a public health nurse. She has a business where she sells a non-GMO healthy whey protein to keep us all healthy and muscular and all that good stuff. And soon this lovely woman is going to be an integrated functional health medicine practitioner, and she's going to be doing wonderful good in her native Nova Scotia and beyond. I'm so proud and happy to welcome the beautiful and wonderful JAYME MacClellan. Welcome to the Tarot Flow Show today. Yay!
Oh, thank you. Oh,
It's
thank you. That
so
was lovely.
It is lovely. You are lovely. JAYME and I had a chance to meet recently. Kefri, I think I mentioned this to you when we
Yeah.
both went to San Diego to see a friend of ours doing a TED Talk. And
Yeah.
when we were around a breakfast table, we had a chance to play with some cards. And JAYME, just in conversation as well as in cards, is a lovely person. And I'm sure that's going to be borne out today in our cards. So JAYME, tell us about your life. Tell us what's important to you. You're coming to us today. Are you in Nova Scotia today? Because I know that you travel a lot.
I am. Yep. I'm still in Nova Scotia. I'm visiting my family here. I grew up in Nova Scotia, Canada, which is the East Coast. And yeah, so my background is in nursing. I graduated from nursing in 2010, and I've been in public health my whole career, doing one thing or another in public health. And probably the last 4 years during our time, I don't know if I should say that word or not. Our video might get taken down. I did a number of different roles, and so one of them was in helping to create standard operating procedures for our new nurses that were coming in to help in public health. And then most recently, I was a nurse educator. So I was helping to educate the new public health nurses that were coming in and on board to help us through that insane time. So more recently, I joined e-commerce. As you said, my sister and I joined forces, and we are launching humanely sourced non-GMO organic whey protein powder that is sourced from Northern California. So our brand is Humane Gains, and we're excited to be able to launch that very soon. And then, as you said, yeah, I've also embarked on this journey. I just enrolled into a certification program. It's an integrative health practitioner program, and I'm super excited about that, and looking forward to see where that journey takes me.
Wonderful. Well, may you continue to do a lot of great good. I can't imagine the pressure that must have been upon you doing public health during the time of pandemic. It's horrendous that everybody had to go through it, but those who are in the medical care profession took the brunt of it. So bless you. And I'm sure you're still sleeping it off. You know, I remember seeing a thing with Billie Jean King, and she said that when she sleeps late now, she's still sleeping off the 70s when she had to do all those, that press tour and everything. So your body's still probably trying to shake it off a little bit in terms of all
It
that
was
trauma.
busy
We're going to
time,
do
yeah.
a little reading with you today, JAYME. We're going to be doing tarot. Tell us about tarot or your experiences with spiritual stuff, if you want to. What is intriguing to you, or what brings you here today?
I'm honestly still so brand new. As you said in the introduction, we had met in San Diego, and we did, the little reading there, and that was honestly my first time ever experiencing tarot. So I'm still just learning. The experience that we had previous to this was amazing, and so I'm always curious, and I'm just
Great.
interested to
Well,
learn
welcome.
more.
We're so happy to have you here. So let's clue you into what you have subjected yourself to at this point. Let's go ahead and see. So we've had a chance to very briefly meet you, and then in a moment we're going to ask you to pick a number between 1 and 22. then that will allow us to pick a random major arcana. I've got the 22 major arcana here in a deck, and we'll count out one of those, and then we'll just take a look at what a particular card can contain, just as a tarot introduction. That's not the reading per se. It's just for us to get an idea of how jam-packed of symbols every card is. And then we're going to do a reading, and that's as always for your consideration, because we're not telling the future. We're just basically, it's kind of like, you know, we go along in our day-to-day lives, right? And then we're in time, you know, we exist in time, all of us. But there are times when we have a chance to, I don't know, have a meditation or hang with some friends and talk about something important, or as we're doing right now, consider the larger picture based on these symbols that are going to pop up. And so we have the opportunity to consider, you know, what these symbols are saying for us, and is that a useful conversation? So that's what we're going to be engaging in. If anybody out there watching is into this kind of thing, come on down to AlisonPickering.com, because we're going to have classes, meetup events, travel, different kinds of stuff to participate in. And if you'd like to be on the show, so let us know. So here's what we're going to do today. First off, as you perhaps know, the main archetype, the main spiritual force in play in the tarot is the idea of how does our spirit move through the lessons of what it is to live this crazy life, wherever it is that we are on this planet, shall we say. So this image is of not a man, not a woman, just the spirit who's willing to manifest. So the idea of willingness to experience what all is here. And here are some images of a lot of what all might be here in the major arcana. There are 22 of them. Let's just generalize. The first row is our internal capacity in our early life. The second row is going to be our the lessons of our being adults, for example, all the different challenges that we might face. And then the bottom row can represent different kind of states of consciousness. So between this guy and these guys, that's 22 cards total. So what number between 1 and 22, Jamie, sounds appealing to you? I'm mixing up these cards just like Kefri's shuffling the larger 78 card deck on his end. What's a good number for us to pull right now?
Let's do number 12.
Number 12. So I'm going to go ahead and count out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And card number 12 is, oh, we're going to love this. This is what marched through our lives back in 2020, literally and figuratively, because this is about change more so than death. But indeed, this is the death card. This is going to be a very interesting one to unpack. Let's take a look at that. This is the card that, you know, in the movies, this is when everybody goes da 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 when this card turns up, you know. But that's not the case for us. But what it does represent, the death card, is something that you just can't resist. You know, we all have to go through it, and resistance is futile if you're a Star Trek fan. So let's take a look at some of the stuff that's in here. And then first off, Jamie, is we all have a holistic impression of cards. And so one holistic impression could be that, da, 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 you know, that kind of. When you look at this card, are there any words or impressions that come to mind just kind of as a reaction or a response?
I think it's just like for me, it's just relating to the transition that I'm having right now. So
Okay.
I feel like not necessarily that my nursing identity is dying necessarily, but that I'm moving on from that to do something, maybe in my own opinion and my own feeling and my own heart, something bigger and better.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And then as we unpack this, and it's interesting that you immediately went to that, because this isn't part of the reading per se, and yet you are seeing within this card so many things that are relevant to the experiences that you've been going through. And we all have had these experiences at one point or another, because they cycle through our lives. They are the continuous kinds of lessons. And if you imagine, we looked at that Kabbalistic ladder, we'll look at that later. Imagine that like a big anatomy chart. We just have to work all those muscles, you know. So this is like the bicep of the tree of life over here. I wonder where it is in terms of a physical body. The death card is kind of like your hip flexors and where they're located. Anyway, we've got the white horse. And so the white horse is this idea that it's traveling you, it's carrying you. So you don't necessarily have control over it. This figure on the horse is a skeleton, so that indicates that we are taken down to our essence. The feather, we have seen the feather, we can see him on the Fool is very alert oftentimes, and this is very kind of down. So the idea that the life force is no longer in this is there. Look in the distance, there's two pillars and a rising sun. That we'll see in the moon card, and the idea of two pillars is key in the tree of life, because that's the idea of the balance and the two sides that keep it, the structure of it balanced. And we are going to attempt to kind of keep ourselves in the balance of the middle, which is where that sun is rising. And then look at all these figures on the ground. Resistance is futile for pretty much everybody. The king is on the ground. He can't, with all his power, he cannot resist this. The Pope is there. He's trying to negotiate it. That's not very effective. The strength character, she can't even face it. Only the little baby is kind of looking at this. And so if you can come to this as a child and just see it as a phenomenon without any kind of tinge one way or the other, that's a good way to allow that card to come through your life. Kefri, what other things are within this card that we should observe or be aware of?
The horse is quite interesting, because horses in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck is a representation for the feminine force. And here we have the feminine force, and it's a white horse. So that takes us up in the Sephira of Keter in the tree of life, and that is the crown actually, and also the point where we can really not go actually, but the death figure can go there because he is black, and the black is a symbol for Saturn, and Saturn is also up in that part of the tree of life actually. So that is a sort of a symbolic thing here. And also we can see the path to the two towers in the background of the cards, and we can see that it is a river. So it's not a path really, it's a river, and that has to do with emotions actually, that we need to go deep in our emotion to understand what death is, if we are able to do it. But this card is more about, like you have been saying, Alison, a change that will come, and a change that we actually have instilled often ourselves actually, because if we compare it to the Tower card, that is a change that come even if we don't have done anything to make it come, that Tower moment. But here there is a change that we need, and that we have been planning for, or set up the stage for, so to speak. And so this is in a reading not a physical death actually, it is a transformation to something better often. So that's a bit of the death card, and the astrological sign for this is Scorpio actually. So that's
Are you a Scorpio, Jamie?
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
Wonderful. Love it when these synchronicities happen. And sometimes we have a co-host, Mike Bonner. Maybe you'll meet him one day. And he himself is a Scorpio, and he enjoys that aspect of his personality, the probing of the deep, the insight, and the there's a certain nosiness and take no prisoners attitude that's within the Scorpio personality as well. That's kind of interesting in terms of how the mind probes, you know. So, because still waters run deep and all that. So all of this and more is in the card. You know, there's a couple things in this card that I have never, for all these years, noticed till now. And that's one thing is on the horse. There's I don't know what this part is called around the neck of the horse, but it's got the skull and crossbones as little silver decorations there.
Yeah.
And then you've got on the ground some kind of a flute or a snail or some kind of thing that looks like a fern frond or something. And that idea of unfurling or of spiraling and shedding of the skins and things like that comes to mind when I see that idea of unfurling there. I'm not sure what that is. If it's a snail, it kind of reminds me also of like a party favor where you go, and it goes.
I'm also noticing it looks like a little boat in the river
Yeah.
just underneath.
Yeah.
Underneath
Yeah.
And
the
then
horse.
you are near, perhaps you are near a lot of islands and, having to cross waterways to get where you're going and things like that. And so we are there. We've lost your image, Jamie. We're gonna wait for you to come back. I'm gonna pause the recording. So much is contained in these tarot cards. We can see our little arrow is up on the feather atop the head of this character coming in on the white horse. And so we'll probably dig up and see more and more things. We were talking about the idea of crossing waterways to get to off the island or to another island, or to, that idea of movement is involving crossing of water. And of course, there's the river Styx in the mythology around death as well, and the guide across the river. And so all kinds of things represented here. There's even a cliff face and potentially a waterfall. And so all the change of levels implied there and all the churning involved there. So, we could go on, and apparently I can and do. So that's what you gotta do. Let's take a quick look again. There's the rest of our majors, and our death card was here. That was number 13. And so those are our major arcana. And let's take a quick blazing look through our minor arcana before we get into our reading today, just to get a sense of our visual vocabulary. Our clubs or our wands card are cups, or the emotional watery card, the wands being the fire on the left. Next is the cups with the emotions. Look at the sense of purpose in the night below. We have also our swords, which are the suit of intellect and planning and action planning. And it's when the emotion kind of goes out the window and we have to start to take action. And then you can see the knight below who's doing that. And then finally, things come into the flesh, into what's represented by the coins or the pentacles there. Why do we have the 5-pointed star? Because in our bodies, which are our currency, we have 5 senses. There's also the idea of the 4 elements plus the element of spirit, so the 5 points of the star. And then also looking at the night below, while we are in our 3D bodies, using our 5 senses to figure things out, and our mental capacities to the left there, we're existing in time, and time is slow. And so it takes time for things to heal. It takes time for processes to play out, and for us to be born, and for crops to grow, and all that kind of stuff that's implied in that Knight of Pentacles card. So here's a quick look at the suit of the wands, 1 through 10, and then all the fiery court cards with the page, the knight, the queen, and the king. Same here in the cups. Here we have the swords. And then the pentacles. And so that's those 56 cards, 14 times 4, plus the 22 in the majors, are going to make the vocabulary for our reading that we're going to do together with you, Jamie. And that's going to be these 6 cards to start, the ones in the middle, and then we'll finish off with the card to the right, the perspective card. In the top middle is going to be whatever the issue is we're looking at. Across the bottom is going to be a timeline. First, then, and then this kind of thing happened. We're going to be looking at a trajectory. It might be anchored in the now, so we're looking at what's coming up in the future, or we might be looking at something that already happened and we're thinking about it and we're getting perspective on it now. And then there's advice on the top left, what's probably better to avoid. And then advice on the right, what's going to be better for your growth and development and the greater good, all of that. So what questions might you have at this point? It's okay if you don't, It's
Yeah, no, I like one question that seems to be so small, but it's just weighing. When I'm into this integrative health practitioner course, we're asked to kind of like narrow our niche down and to pick a target audience that we would be working with. And so I have a couple of ideas around this, and there's like, I'm trying to weigh these out, like pros and cons. And like I said, it seems like such a small decision to make, but it really affects the trajectory of like my work and like who it is that I'm calling and speaking to. So I have, in one hand, I feel that I could connect well with nurses who have, a similar experience that I went through, and to help heal themselves, heal their bodies, to introduce, this different layer of healthcare. But I also really find it fun working with entrepreneurs. And I know that for myself, being new in the space, I've come across some symptoms that, are holding me back a little bit in business. So like just, lack of energy and being tired all the time and like brain fog and these, and I'm sure that, there are other entrepreneurs out there that are having similar symptoms that I could help them with and that I could relate to also. So I have these two different kind of streams and I'm just trying to pick which one to go with.
Even before we get into the cards, I feel like I want to ask the question is, could you broaden and just say working people who need support with their health, because nurses are working people and entrepreneurs are working people. So it doesn't have to be necessarily that you're working in a job versus working in your business, but rather that you're working and you're tired and you need some support for your health or something along those lines. Maybe it's about stress management or something along those lines. So it allows you to kind of niche out one little bit so that the same practices help people with a similar problem, even though those people might be in two different categories when you're viewing from a different category. So how the money comes in is one category, but the symptoms that they're suffering are in common. So that comes to mind for me. But we can certainly see what the cards suggest and all of that. But that's just kind of in a coaching kind of context. That's where I would perhaps probe a little bit, because since they're asking you to declare so early, is it necessary to go quite so focal, or is there a fuzzier focus that still allows you to work effectively?
Yeah, I think that I'm still fairly early. I tend to be a planner. I like to see the big picture before I move too fast, quickly in one direction. And that was my approach too, Allison. Like, honestly, I was like, why can't I just help everybody? But I guess like part of the rationale is around the targeting, the marketing, finding the people in the Facebook groups. It's just easier if you can identify, if they're more clearly identified within a certain niche. But
yes.
Yeah.
And then there's the crasser viewpoint, which is depending on where your price points are, which are the people that have the wherewithal to pay for what you're offering and things like that. And nurses and teachers and other burned out people may not be in that group quite yet. So there's a lot of considerations. But of course, we're here for a tarot reading rather than for an Allison coaching session. However,
maybe I'll follow up with that with you.
And then we'll do the protein and the health coaching, and then we'll help each other. It'll be great. That's I think how a lot of this stuff begins, is the mutual support. So, and then Kefri, Kefri is doing this in addition to his full-time job as well. And so maybe we'll be helping Kefri as well with his health maintenance, since he stays up all night long helping us out with the tarot in addition to his day job. We appreciate you, Kefri.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
So I'm going to hand off to Kefri now to deal the cards, Jamie, if that's okay with you. And then we're going to go ahead and see what they say as far as what's happening with Miss Jamie.
Yeah. And Jamie, I am shuffling the cards and you say stop where you want the stop to be.
You can stop.
There. And how many times do you want to cut the deck if you want to cut the deck?
4.
4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And then we start with the middle card in the top row, and that is the subject card. And it is the 8 of Swords. And then we go in the lower row and we take the leftmost card, and it is the past card, and it is the 9 of swords. And the 9 of swords there. And then we go in the middle in the lower row, and that is the present card, and that is the 5 of cups. And then we go in the rightmost card, and that is the future card, and it is the 9 of cups. Then we go in the top row, the leftmost position, and that is the cautionary card, what not to do. And that is the King of Pentacles. And then we take the rightmost card in the top row, and that is the Sun card, and that is the advice card, what to do. And we wait with the 7th card for now. And Alison is coming back.
Thank you, Kefri. So
You're
it's so
welcome.
interesting. Aren't these cards fascinating, Jamie? It's just, I love the 2 9s are really interesting. Let's go ahead and put up that 8 of Swords, Kefri, if you don't
Yeah.
mind. And so could there be a card that would better describe where you're at right now? So at least the state of mind that you described to us is kind of this idea where they're asking you to move forward, but you can't really make a decision to move forward because you don't have enough information and you don't feel very liberated to do it. But another aspect of this card, this 8 of Swords, is the idea that it's your ideas that are keeping you limited rather than the actual circumstance. And you're actually doing okay. You can kind of look out from the bottom of your blindfold and you can inch your way forward. So firstly, you're doing the best you can in a situation where you cannot see very far. So, but that also may be intentional. There may be the idea that you're stuck, that you're not really stuck. You're just at a particular point in the process, but it feels like you're stuck. And so just recognize that this particular notion is a perception rather than a reality. Some cards have this as a free woman looking in the mirror, and who she sees in the mirror is all chained up. And so the idea is that, so the idea here is that you may think that you have limitation, but you really are not as limited as you think. And go ahead and proceed, even though it feels like you're inching your way. That's a good thing. So with this idea that your thoughts are conveying a sense of limitation to you right now, let's look at this timeline on the bottom. The timeline. So then here, it's certainly logical that 9, and oftentimes we'll see a progression in the tarot where you're going from 1 to 10, going in terms of like growing through a process, and then going through a process 1 through 10, but growing through a process can kind of go 10 to 1 in the sense of moving up the tree. So in the sense of what you had been going through in the past was so painful with this 9 of Swords. And we can also see all that black of Saturn that we were talking about before. And we can also see it in the robe of that King of Pentacles above. There's quite a amount of black, and as well as the cloak on this present time. So this feeling of limitation is really it has been upon you very heavily. And I can certainly, with this card, for example, relate to the difficulties that you were experiencing in your profession, in your wondering, what are you going to do? How are you going to take all of this knowledge that you have and move forward with it? Is there only the one path? You know, you can obviously, with this card, there's this idea of regret, or there's this idea of dread. There's this idea of, I'd rather kill myself kind of thing. So I don't know if you've been through terrible suicidal ideation. I hope you have not, but that would also be represented here. This idea of no hope, but there's always hope. But when you're in a feeling of loss, it's hard to see it. And so in all 3 of the focal cards that we're looking at right now, the 8 above in the middle, I want us to notice this. So let's look at this Kefri for a moment. The 8 above, the eyes are covered. Now the 9 of swords. Let's look at the 9 of swords. Sorry, yeah, that one. The face is covered. You're now covering your face. And in the 5, which is the present time and the circumstance, we can't see the face, and so there's this idea of losing face or losing identity. And so you talked about your identity as a nurse, your identity, and you have a generational identity as a nurse, I believe. And so there's this idea of being in the helping professions and how hard that is, how much death you've seen, how much difficulty you've encountered in your own life. And so this 5 of swords is a powerful card because it shows this kind of pivot point of the being mid pivot. And so that 8 of swords of seeing no end or no light is echoed by this 5 of cups, who is still focusing on the difficulty of what has passed already and all the loss. And so all of your training, all of your years, all of your professionalism, all of your colleagues, how can you say goodbye to them? That feeling of leaving is very present in this reading, I would say. And that's worth thinking about, because that is a huge part of who you are. And so as we move into the future, there's this idea of satisfaction. So let's look at this 9. So fret not. There is the ability to turn around in this 5 of cups card that's in the present time. There is the ability to pivot. In a religious terminology, that would be metanoia. In another religious terminology, that would be repent. But repent really means just turn around, or it means look at what is also there. Not only is the death and difficulty there, there is also the hope and the possibility in future. Not only has there been loss, but there is also gain. And there is a pathway back to conquer your castle and to be the queen of there is so much that you want to do. As you turn around, you will discover that capacity. And so we can see that this is a journey of thought and heart, because we've got swords and cups, and the direction to not follow is coins, by the way. So let's also look again at this future card. Perhaps this is a present card. Maybe we're just looking at this timeline trajectory, that out of the difficulty in turning around, did you see another possibility, which is in this functional medicine? This could also be, this whole trajectory could also be representative of some of your own illness and physical difficulties that you found healing and help in within this approach, for example. And so then within this is the rebirth of hope and the feeling of possible accomplishment, and the idea that you can turn these 9 difficulties into 9 trophies. The idea of taking what was such a source of pain and bringing this into a source of joy is also present in this reading. So let us allow for that kind of alchemy in this, and let us look at the kind of colors that are showing as we move left to right in this. There's so much darkness and possible limitation or perception of limitation, and then moving into this beautiful guidance with the crown, with the white behind, and then this beautiful golden light, and the blue and the red and the yellow. And blue, red, and yellow are right smack in the middle of the tree of life. They are in the place of strength and of foundation. They are the primary colors from which everything else is built. And so I hope that this is representing you now, and if not, take heart that this is you coming up soon, to really feel a sense of building a solid foundation and really serving those whom you want to serve. Imagine this is like the world's greatest bartender, and the bar is busy. You are serving the cups of joy to everyone who comes. You are going to be busy in this, but there are more casks under the table. You can keep fulfilling the cups. The source is endless, especially when you are aligned. And so let's look up at the Let's look up at the sun, first of all, because I want to follow the color on this. And so the hat is very red and the socks are red on our gentleman down below, okay? The child on this white horse, remember the white horse from that death card that we saw before? Now we have the child. So no longer is it this death figure. It is now a reborn child on the white horse. This is you. This is you with a victory, with some rebirth of energy, that Mars, that red martial energy that's going to give you some pep in your step, as they would say, rather than that feeling of paralysis. And it's carrying you now. So this change of heart that you have felt is now carrying you, and the sun at your back is supporting you. And I see both the masculine and the feminine rays on this sun are telling me that you don't have to reduce to one as far as your
My niche.
audience is concerned. I think that you don't have to limit yourself at this point. The sun can shine on all people. And the mandate, and let's look at the king now. And so this, and by the way, Scorpio and Taurus are opposites on the astrological wheel. And so there's a certain amount of shadow aspect of Scorpio that's in Taurus that perhaps is, let's not have you push and work out of your shadow, which is working out of a Taurus place. And the keywords in Taurus are I have. So let us discourage you from working from a place of wanting to get, and rather encourage you to work from a place of giving. And I think that for your personality and for who you are and what you have to give, that source will continue to reward this with filling your cup constantly. And you don't have to worry about the coins and about narrowing yourself down in order to ensure the coins. I think that the cup will always be filled. And as long as your cup is filled, you're going to be cool because you're about the cups, not so much the coin. And so that's what I'm getting from this. And I will hand off to Kefri because there are probably other ways to go about talking about these cards, but I hope that this has been relevant for you. This is the way I'm seeing these cards. I discourage you from pursuing exclusively the coin. I think the coin will come along with everything else that's going to fill those cups as you free yourself to let yourself be led to what is going to be most joyful and satisfying for you. And that's the combination of the sun and the Nine of Cups in this case. Kefri, put up that sun and Nine of Cups if you don't mind, or the sun. Just take the advice of letting this process lead you. As you saw yourself with that death card in this process, let this white horse lead you. Be as innocent as possible in this. Open your arms and your heart as much as possible in this, and let the sun shine. Like that's like, let the sun shine. Let the sun shine in. Let it come in. Maybe you're going to go travel down to Florida, wherever this guy is, to let the sun shine and just feel good, soak it in and really let yourself see possibilities rather than forcing yourself into a concrete plan, even though you like a plan and you need a plan. Just let yourself know that God has the plan, the angels have the plan, and you're going to be intuitive enough to pick up on it. Trust that. Okay, I'm going to stop talking now.
Thank you, Alison. You have said a lot already that is relevant here. But I will go in a level that is more about the mission that you have in this, Jamie. And the mission is to bring in light into people's life, actually. And that is so clear with the sun up there in the advice position, what to do. And then we have the King of Pentacles there in the cautionary position. And I read that like, don't do this for gaining, and do not tell people that they will gain in material matters. while doing what you are offering and learning what you are offering. And also, I think it is about taking people to a higher level in their development of their own ideas or what they want to do in life, beyond the materialistical resource thoughts, actually, because that is about the light again. And looking at it from the 9 here, this is also a foundation, and I believe that you have been going through this figure's position, thinking about what should I offer and what can I offer and can I offer anything and so on. And this you can use in your own profession now, because that is also how other people probably is feeling for their process, so to speak. And this is a foundation also, but it is a very dark foundation. But there is a sort of a secret in this card, and that is that the swords are a ladder out of this card, actually, that you can climb up on, and out of it and to a higher level. And also the cover has a lot of astrological symbols and so on, and also a rose here, and that is also referential things to esoterical things, actually. And you can probably tell people also that they can use esoterical tools to lighten up and to guide them, actually. And that, I think, is in your mission also. And looking at this 8 here, you don't have to do anything, actually, to direct this, because it will be there of itself if you focus on it, actually. And it will also be that it will be bigger than you think it is, because you can see that this figure is stepping on a landscape here. So you will be this idea of the company that you are creating will be bigger than you think for the moment, actually. And that is just when it comes, just go with the flow, because the idea will be there then. And also how you should present yourself, your persona in this will be there also. And the 5 here that we has been talking about, that you can turn around here and you find something else. And this card is also it's also messaging a bit of what should you do that you haven't done. And I think that you should be focusing on what these people that is probably depressed in their lives and what they should do with it and so on. You should, and you probably know this already, you should instill in them what they will be able to create when they are in a balance healthily, and what they can do for being in that balance. And there your protein powder also comes in, actually, because that will help them to balance also. And also you should focus on this connection with a balance, and that could be a spiritual thing in there, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that, but it is light there. It need to be light. You need to bring in the light to them and in their process, so to speak, and also to tell them how they can mean something to other in their life, actually. And that is also a mission that they have, and it's a mission that you have in this also, to open people to the light, so to speak. And this card again, there is a lot of empty cups here, and they can be filled with light, actually. And that is your mission again. And that is the foundation that your creative idea will rest on, actually. How you fill your light with your life with light, actually. And it goes back here again in the sun, actually, that here the light is, actually. And the light is here if you focus on it, actually. And again, there is a message here also that says that focus on it in this world. Don't focus in it up on a cloud, so to speak, of just dreaming. And so focus on it and focus on it in this reality and this world, and also present to them that this is a process that is a lot about growing, and there is they are young in this, so they have to grow also, and also being balanced. The determination ability will start to be higher, actually, and that will also help them doing their decisions, because for the moment, if they are depressed, they can't do the decisions, actually, because they will just hesitate. But if they start to grow, they will be able to decide in another way, and that could also be part of your mission to balance them, so they will be able to do that, actually. And this is beautiful cards because it's going from the dark, and it is also a positive thing in this, that you, as well as those people that you are going to take care of, will know the dark, actually. And if you know the dark, it will be easy to recognize where the light is, actually. And that is a sort of a foundation. And it's beautiful here because you have one foundation of dark here and you have one foundation of light here. So it's like a scale in this also. And in the middle, you have this, that you can do the change, because the change are coming from you, actually. But for you personally, you don't have to direct anything in this. Just focus on this, and the idea will present itself, actually, in the Eight of Swords here. So that's because she will pass through here. There is an opening here. And also it's a reference to your femininity, that you can take it from your ability as a woman, and find an answer there also, actually. And the seventh card is interesting here because that's the answer to everything, actually, of the balance, and also a hint that you will succeed in this. And it is the Six of Wands, actually.
Well, that is the card that's named Victory.
Yeah.
So take heart. And then the place of 6 on the Tree of Life is that golden center. That place of balance is the 6th place. And so the idea that it's the idea that your ideas and your inspirations and your everything are in the absolute right place to carry us. And look at the white horse again, another white horse. And so this idea of a white horse carrying you is all over your reading. It's carrying you toward the right. It's always kind of toward the southeast, which is interesting because that may even be where you're traveling for part of your studies. But the idea that you have a double wreath of victory on that. You've got a wreath on the wand that you're carrying, which is kind of like the cause that you're carrying forward, which is your own victory over your own darkness and difficulty and your own journey. And then there are other people who are going to be cheering you on in this. Now, there's still a lot of question mark in this card under the green, because that horse could potentially trip up. There's a lot of fabric there, But the general gist of this is that you are in the world and you are doing good work, that your ideas are in the right direction, and that this is going to be victorious for you. And the 6 is a beautiful number because it puts you right down the middle of the tree. And the sun card is the pathway that goes from, where is our sun here?
It goes from Hod to Yesod.
Hod to Yesod. Yeah, exactly. So it's from, it's really about, it's about ideas. And so it does kind of take us back into the more forceful side of the tree, shall we say. So from being on the more feeling toned, gentle side, and your default mode, I would say, is to the healing. You've been in the healing professions. Your personality is very nurturing and healing. You're going to need to marshal. And this isn't so much advice, but what you're going to find is that also within you, in addition to those healing forces, you are also a warrior. And so you're going to be marshaling those energies to communicate the importance of what you're talking about. This should not be played down. What you're talking about is extremely important. And you've got people's lives that could be vastly improved by the ideas that you're carrying forward. So carry your ideas forward so that they are heard and recognized by others, is the message for me in this card. Kefri, what do you see in the 6 of Wands?
The victory I see here, and I also see this beautiful thing that we have the foundation in the 9s, and then we turn the 9 around and we get the 6. And we get the balance. So you have already built the foundation, actually. So the balance will come in this. And also in the sun, there is a symbol in this card that we can't see, and that is actually the head. And I think that this is a sort of a message that you should put these thoughts in the head of your clients, that what they can create if they are in balance. And then we are talking balance healthily, we are talking balance in life, in the reality, and so on. And that is, I think, the area for your presentation of your mission. Actually bring balance in by bringing in light into people's life.
It's amazing.
So you are a beautiful woman with a beautiful mission, and I wish you all the best. This is the tarot floor. Tarot flow. You've got a little bit of it in San Diego. Now you have a bit more of it here online. I hope it's been useful to you, Jamie.
It's been so lovely. Thank you both so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
Pleasure.
so great.
A pleasure.
So great.
You are welcome to come back at any time to catch up and let us know how you're doing, and take another snapshot of what the cards are in that moment. Awesome. I hope that we stay in contact, and we should all be eating your protein. So we'll be getting the protein with you, bringing ourselves into balance. So it's the idea of physical balance and emotional balance and mental balance and thought balance and all these kinds of things. And so the idea of a pendulum swing. And so sometimes to get into balance, you have to outweigh on the other side. So you might, to balance all the negativity, you might have to be a little Pollyanna, but that's an important function for people to be able to get the balance and come back to themselves a little bit. So even though they might push back on some of that new agey stuff, it might be helpful. Just pose it to them, just consider it as a counterweight to where you've been at.
Yeah.
And just experiment with it as a counterweight, and then you can see whether it's useful to you or not, and it may well be for you and for everybody else. And so this idea of achieving a balance is all over the Tree of Life. Let's just put up that Tree of Life one more time, if you don't mind, Jeffrey.
Do that. There we have it.
So that 6 of Wands is sitting squarely on that yellow card. That's the 6. And then you can see in that 9 of Cups card, the red, the blue, and the yellow of that kind of stage in the Tree of Life. The Christ consciousness is that yellow ball right there. And so this idea that you are guided, and then the card that is in between the red and the blue is the Strength card, which is number 8. And we have an 8 as your representation card, the 8 of thoughts. And so the strength of your thinking is really going to help balance the mission that you have, and to bring all this energy from the white. Notice the white skies. There's a white sky behind you where you are. There's a white sky behind that 8. There's a white sky behind that 5. This idea of guidance from the white and the gray above in that supernal triangle, coming down into this beautiful middle triangle where you have the red, green, the red, blue, and yellow. And then those colors are also above in the sun, which is depicting the pathway between the orange and the purple, by the way. That's the sun's pathway. And so that's on the more forceful side of things, because the blue gentle side of things, you're a master of the blue gentle. You know, you've been in the gentle side of things, and having been so gentle, it is quite a source of despair when you don't have some red to counteract it, you know. And so bringing in that red of the sun and the yellow of the sun is going to help energize your mission to bring it to everybody.
Amazing. That's so great.
So love to you. We appreciate you from afar. And so I guess we're from Stockholm on the east and LA on the west. We're going to kind of come and meet up in the middle in Nova Scotia and send you our loving kisses, my dear.
Oh, that is awesome. That's so great. I feel like I'm being hugged here in Nova Scotia.
Oh, absolutely. It's a virtual hug, and from above as well. So you get the what do you call it? The pressure blanket, right? The weighted blanket.
Oh, this is great. Thank you so much, both.
All right. We'll see you
You're
soon,
welcome.
Jamie. Thank you so much for joining us. Kefri Scarabus, thank you for being here and for lending your wisdom to all of this. And to everybody out there, if you're still with us, you have a great attention span. Thank you. And we'll see you soon on the Tarot Flow Show. And I'm going to take us off stage. Stick around, Jamie, for a second.